Welcome to the Crimson Tide Connection, your home for Alabama sports. Joining me today is the head coach of the Alabama rowing team, Larry Davis. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here.
How's everything with you?
So far, so good.
Excellent.
Can't complain.
Excellent. Well, Coach, recently, this past weekend, you wrapped up the Head of the Hooch Regatta. What were the high points for your team from this past weekend?
Well, I think one of the things that I really enjoyed seeing is that we went out and competed. Now, we didn't have some of the results maybe that we wanted, but I thought I saw from the beginning of the race to the end of the race, each crew that went out there, we went out and attacked the race course. And as you try and mature a team, and we are in the process of getting more mature, one of the things they have to learn, especially in a sport like rowing, where you know you're going to have to hurt if you're going to do well,
right,
is to get the team to get that kind of intensity all the way through a race piece and attack the race course and sort of take the race to people. And one of the things that I was really happy with is I saw that happening virtually throughout all the crews and what we were doing, both in the small boats and big boats. And it's good to see that we've made that progress where we do that. That's probably the biggest thing that I'm excited about with what we did. And we certainly had a good chance to sort of determine where we are with a number of our conference teams. There's a number of conference teams there, and we still have some work to do in that area. Mm-hmm. But given where we are, and I did some sort of mathematics as to find out, how does that break down into sort of splits per 500. We're making progress against those teams, but we're not quite where we need to be yet.
Well, Coach, since the fall season started, where do you feel like your team has improved the most?
I would say team unity, and some of that shows up in how you go out and race. Because one of the things we did at the races, we moved people around a little bit. Some of that was by choice. We were planning on trying different combinations with the 2 different days that we raced. And then the other thing was sort of we had to make some adjustments based on some injuries and sickness, which we didn't plan on, and some of those were last minute. So I think one of the things that was good there is the girls maintain a composure about them. A lot of times if you change lineups right at the last minute when they're not expecting certain lineup changes, it can sort of throw things, I guess, a little askew, especially with people that aren't quite at the level you want them right as far as maturing. And they did a good job handling that. There was a good sense of going out and getting the job done and working together and making the lineups work. And I think that's something we have to do, because anytime you row a program or anytime you have a sport, there's going to be things that pop up that you don't expect. And how a team handles that is very important. And I saw that sort of a step forward in maturity where we adjusted to those things. And it would be nice to see how the combinations we wanted to row would have done. But the girls didn't let that bother them, and they went out and like I say, they attacked the course. So that was all good.
Well, Coach, in the short term, it sounds like this team has improved. But what can they do to make the Alabama boats faster?
A couple of things. One of those would be there's some people that we've been bringing on kind of slow that are fairly new to the program, sort of maybe undiscovered talents. It look like they're really coming on, and we're moving those girls up into the mix with some of the upper crews. And we're looking forward to them to take some steps with us as we go through the next several months as we get ready for the spring racing season. And I think that's exciting, that the kind of athletes that I think can really help the program take another step. And now we just have to bring them along without sort of overdoing it. And I think that's something that we were really we were hoping would happen, and it looks like it's going in the right direction at the right time. So I think that's going to be a big positive that we're taking out of the fall. And then also I think some of the girls we're looking to be leaders are coming through, and they're doing the kind of things that are going to help us be a better team. And that's going to add to that level of maturity and how we execute on race day. And that's certainly something that's our theme for the entire year, is going out and executing and getting closer and closer to that ability to where we do an A race when we go on the water, no matter who, no matter what the conditions are.
Well, Coach, speaking of taking another step forward, have there been any surprises this fall? Is there a particular group or a student athlete who's maybe taken a leap forward?
Well, I think the surprise is just what I mentioned. There's some girls that we were hoping would be able to maybe go beyond what their level of maturity and experience is right now, and we're seeing that. So it's a pleasant surprise. Maybe not a surprise, but they've done some things we'd hope would happen. And we're looking forward to more of that going as we go through the next several months, and we'll have a better feel for that once we get up to like the early part of March. But I'd say that was probably one of the big things. And the other part would be I think there's some people that are young, but they're really deciding, hey, we want to be leadership, and they're going out and doing things that are, whether it has to do with team functions, shown by example as to how to go out and do the workouts the way we'd like to have them done and executed well. And those are 2 things that I wouldn't call them surprises, but certainly things we hope for, and they're coming through, so that gets us, pretty fired up.
Well, Coach, what does this team need to work on most before the spring season rolls around?
Well, I think there's still a large amount of fitness that we still need to accomplish. Well, I think we talked last time. We're roughly about 45% of the way, and some of that has to do with skill development, some of that has to do with chemistry, but a lot of that has to do with fitness. And you can't put that all in at once. And there's a certain base you need to build, and I think the girls have made good progress in that direction, but a lot of it's going to have to be, let's keep building on that base, and certainly in the next couple of weeks, going through Christmas and going into when we have winter training in January, there's a tendency for maybe less mature teams to wander off the reservation, so to speak, and not necessarily do some of the things they have to do on their own. You can't go from doing 20 hours a week down to what we do in off season as far as supervised workouts and still stay fit.
Right.
And I think we have a fairly good feel as coaches that this team is going to be able to make that kind of commitment and keep doing the work they need to do to build on that base that we want to do. You certainly can't take 2 months off and expect to continue on in the direction that we've made this fall. And we have a good feel at this point in time as a coaching staff, as I've said, that the girls they know what it's going to be required of them, and they're going to go out and do it over these next couple of months when it's sort of less supervision by a coach.
Well, Coach, now that you're kind of in between the fall and the spring seasons, do you get much of a break at all now?
A little bit. We have a chance to do a little continuing education for ourselves, and it's a break for the girls because they don't have as rigid a schedule, so that gives us a breather. But there'll be a number of things we're doing. We'd sort of do a review of the fall with the girls individually, and sort of let's check our goals that we have as individuals and how they mesh with the team goals going into the spring season. So we'll be doing some of that. So it won't be quite as high pressure, as much time actually on the water, but there'll be some things that we're doing, and like I say, I'll have a chance to maybe unwind, get a few days off here and there.
Well, Coach, enjoy your break. I know it's well deserved.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Well, for head coach Larry Davis, I'm Christopher England, and this has been another edition of the Crimson Tide Connection.